What's up, Wes? All right, so we are doing just the Battle of Hogwarts. So it won't be a crazy long discussion on this, but we'll talk about a few things, and then we'll just listen. This is so the not the next chapter, but the next chapter after that is the longest chapter in the entire series.
Oh, whoa!
But it's some people say it's the best.
Wow.
Or one of the best. So the next two chapters we're gonna listen to are all time.
Chapter 31.
Yeah, the Battle of Hogwarts is the discussion. And then the Elder Wand, and then the chapter after that, which we won't look at yet, is the next.
Which we won't look at yet.
Is the live read.
Wait, so the Elder Wand is a short one, then the next one is the longest.
Yeah.
I think I already saw what the chapter title is weeks ago, but I can't remember it, so.
Good, perfect. Hold on. Someone says there's noise in the stream. It's not a white balance issue. Oh, Danny, everyone loves your jeans.
I didn't remember if I'd worn these before, but
I've never seen them.
yeah, I wore them to dinner last night. Jen's like, I've never seen those before. Guess they've been buried. Spring cleaning. I'm trying to get rid of things. Heading right to the thrift store after this.
Yes. It's a great feeling of dropping stuff up. Grab some more
You're
stuff.
inspiring us, John. Your minimalist ways.
We need more of that.
Wait, you guys hear something on the stream? Hold on. Did you guys hear something on the stream? Oh, hold on.
Oh, like that.
I think I know what it is.
It's probably my mic.
Whoa, why would it be your mic?
No, because it's like so loud that like.
Yeah, it's fuzzy when it's so loud.
Air noise.
Nice.
I think that might have fixed it. Let me check. No, it didn't.
My
fix it.
guesses for the picture were Moaning Myrtle, Fleur, Hermione, Rowena, Ravenclaw. My guesses for the picture were Moaning.
What were mine?
But it came out of nowhere. Couldn't see it coming.
Who is this again? The daughter, right?
Yeah. Forgetting her
That
name.
was killed by the other guy. Nearly headless Nick? No, the other one.
The Bloody Baron. Yeah, that's a weird one.
One second.
Kind of close in their curves.
Fuzzy. Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, you wear those in your Uggs?
No, I tried to, but the grippies on the bottom won't.
So you just brought these separate?
Yeah.
Nice.
I know what to do.
Yeah, you're prepared. Was it because that mic's not connected?
I don't know. It might be because there's an open.
Hmm.
Open connection here. But I don't think so. Let me just try it. Sure. Let's see. You all right, Wes? What the heck?
Is it on your wires? That's like.
Maybe.
Oh, it's unplugging.
Yeah, try to unplug your guys' wires and then plug them back in.
Ooh, yeah, look at us getting technical.
It's like restarting. You know?
Oh, you see a little button on top?
I'm pushing it, but I'm not. You twist it?
No twist. Gentle. It doesn't take force. It just takes finesse.
Precision.
Did it wrong. So it's fine.
You crushed it. You're a sound engineer now.
All right, that should work. Why is this so overexposed now?
Did Kaylee respond? Is she gonna maybe come to the live read?
I don't hear it now, right?
I couldn't hear it before.
I don't hear it now. Do you?
It says tiny house perfect. That is not a tiny house. The thing's gigantic.
I'm just
I
saying
think.
style.
I think it's your mic, Danny.
Ah.
Uncurtained.
Yeah, you're right.
Kitchen is so cool. You don't like it?
No, I think I do. But you know what? Carpets in the kitchen? I might have something to say about that.
Those there, well, they have the washable carpets now.
You can only do that if you're fancy. I spill too much.
We are fancy.
Well.
Well, part of us is fancy.
Is that what you're saying? You're fancy, but I'm not. I pretend to be fancy sometimes, but
Okay, hold on. I gotta figure this out. Okay.
Hmm.
Muting my mic to see if this works.
I think I do.
Muting this mic. Muting Jen. Muting Danny. No, I'm just gonna check it on this.
It's a good technique.
I'm still getting it. Oh, so it's yours. That's weird that yours is busted. Hold on a sec. Swap my wires.
To Danny's or mine?
I'm gonna give your wire to Danny, and you're gonna take this one.
Okay.
Nice.
Sorry, Wes. Let's see if that works.
Now it's like sunny out.
A little bit of rain.
It was like it was downpouring like drizzle, which is like weird. Like the drops were very.
Oh, lots of tiny drops. Yeah, I got you.
Well, how's
All right, I think that's working, everyone. Right? You guys aren't hearing it anymore. All right, we're good.
I wouldn't do that. No.
different things, and then it's like.
Hold on, no, Danny's not up. Hold on.
And then it's like.
What escapade right now?
They're like ours. They're not ours, but they're nice.
Ours don't have the string to go up though, right?
True.
Oh, we can get them in.
No, oh no, they didn't arrive. They won't go on.
Why? Oh, there we go.
Still.
Nice bone, Wes. Things looking good. Juicy.
All right, just do a quick mic test.
Mic test 1 2 1 2.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, trying to never say 3.
Mic test 1 2 1 2.
I always think back to composition and recording. Me and John were in this class, and Mr. Peterson, he always said, you do check 1 2 1 2. You never say 3. It's like against the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it stuck with me since
Yeah.
that day. He might have been making that up.
No,
but
I think it's legit. I think I'd like. I think everyone kind of does check 1 2.
wow, I hadn't thought about that class in a while. That was a fun class. John wrote a song.
Yeah, I did.
It was
yeah.
good.
He wrote a song.
Did that
and
recording survive
performed.
somewhere?
I think Peterson has it somewhere because I think he recorded it. Like I came into class one day and he's like, "Hey, I just recorded your song." I was like, "Dude, that was my song. What the heck?
Yeah, like, what in the world are you
You
doing?
can't steal my song. It's plagiarism." I remember we would just go into that class and we would just like mess around. We'd like play the drums and like,
Yeah.
anything.
That was actually really fun. I feel like I learned some drum basics
Yeah, that was kind of a fun class.
But I just wish there was a little, like, just a conclusion to it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
wrapping up with an MP3 file of our songs emailed
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah,
Because I feel like we lost all the
that
stuff
would've
that we
been
did.
cool.
I'm kind of with you.
But I feel like I did learn a lot, even if I haven't applied it since then.
Yeah, same. All right, I think we're good now. Okay, yeah. I'll adjust things. You guys let me know on the fly if their mics are loud or soft, and I'll adjust it on the fly. But we're going to get started, so we're not here for 5 hours.
Even though we want to.
Okay.
But nail appointments, you know, I got to work on the
Yeah.
car a little later, so. Got to be adults. Ugh.
And girly.
And girly adults, half of us.
Okay, so what do you guys think of Fred's death?
Oof.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But I think I laughed.
I thought it was so
Well,
funny because you did,
goodness.
but it's because you got the prediction right.
And also
It was
because
so
I realized
funny.
this, it annoyed me that she laughed in
Yeah,
the moment,
he
and I
was
felt like I was
so-
holding it back because I'm like, oh, on stream, and then afterwards I'm like, Jen, why did you laugh? It's so annoying. But she did that in another show this week, and I noticed it happened like 2 more times. When moments get intense or emotional, she laughs as a defense mechanism for the emotion. So I was like, all right, I gotta like understand that because I was like, ugh. It was so
He was
funny.
so mad at me.
Well, yeah, because I was like, it was a big moment. I'm like,
It's like,
don't
I
take
could
away
have
from the moment.
cried.
Yeah, and so
But
it
you
was-
laughed and it ruined it.
it ruins the moment. But to be fair, it's a defense mechanism, so you know.
I don't know if that's tired.
This is gonna
Yeah,
be
you don't
a
think so? What do you
psychological
think it
one.
is? Or you think it was really more about the that you got the prediction right, or that we had just? It's like
I
ironic
thought-
that
yeah.
we just
We
said
were
it.
just talking about it,
Yeah.
and then it was also like, I think they haven't been a part of the picture that like frequent, so it was just like, oh, we're right, and like, of course, haha, one of them would die. I know it's not a ha.
It was
whatever.
like, well, yeah, I think it's sometimes in those moments it becomes a little more abstract because we're talking about ideas of like who would die in these, what would make sense, and then all of a sudden we go from like the big picture stuff down into the actual story, and sometimes it can get like lost in translation where we're still thinking big picture. But I don't know, I had gone into the story at that point.
I don't know. I feel like because we're doing, maybe it'd be different. I don't know, because we're like dissecting the book, which is really fun and I like it. But I think that takes like the emotion
Yeah.
away from me.
Agreed.
Yeah, like if we had been reading, like we get to this point, and I'm just picturing the good old days of reading where you get to a point in a book, and even though it's late and you're tired and whatever, you're like, I can't put this thing down,
Yeah.
and you just don't stop. I feel like if you were reading this for the first time, you'd be halfway through this book and you'd be like, I am finishing this book right now, and you would just
Yep.
not be able to stop. Every chapter, you'd be like, I'm doing more.
That's why your guys' read experience is so different because of that reason. Because you're going. It's been almost 2 years since you've gone through this whole series.
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
reading it faster, the emotional moments would, I think, key in a little bit better. But you're just sacrificing for the rest of us, and we can't. Like, I mean, if we're doing a podcast, unless we want to record every single day, which is just ridiculous, we can't do like, finish these books super, super quick.
Right,
But
right.
that's why some of these moments, some of the more emotional moments in the series where like someone has died, haven't hit you guys quite as hard because it's not like, I don't know, I guess the amount of time that you're going through this, it's like if you read real quick, you just want to get to the next page. That's why like the next chapter that we're going to do, everyone is like, you have to do the next two combined because of that reason. Because when the next chapter hits, you guys are just going to like, it's one of the chapters where you have to go on to the next page.
Right.
It's like an impossibility to not go on to the next page.
Yeah.
So your reading experience is just different. The emotional cues are going to hit different, which has just been fascinating.
But it gives us so much time to process, which is good and bad. So that's why I think rather than the emotion building so much from the previous chapter as you just have to read on, it's like we have time to process each chapter before we read the next one. So then I think some of the emotion is then has dissipated by the time we keep reading. So it's good and bad.
Yeah. And that's why it was so funny to me because you guys literally were like, it's such a good literary device if he dies and then all the stuff that you guys were saying.
When I was saying that, I was so like, it was abstract.
You're like, it makes so much sense. And it really does make a lot of sense in the story because you're like, he's not really, there's always another spare one.
Right. And it stinks because I just didn't think about it. And I was like, oh no, it does make a lot of sense. But it is also, then I was thinking about it this week. She chose Fred instead of George.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting.
I already forgot what happened.
George is the one with the ear scar. So now we only have George.
Yeah.
And George was slightly more reserved than Fred. It seems.
Yeah.
Just based on who talks more and stuff. Although I'm sure somebody did a breakdown online
who
where we
killed
could
him
find
again?
how many words things have said.
We don't really know. There was just a blast.
Oh, okay.
And he
whole
died.
wall like kind of exploded.
But wasn't he joking right before too?
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
last thing
he's
he said.
talking
Percy.
to Percy. Yeah, that's like a beautiful moment because they were at odds, and then now he's like, "You're joking, Percy. You're actually joking."
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then the blast in the wall, and then it's like the whole world stops, and he's dead. You remember that by Fred rhymes with dead, so that's how you remember it. That's all the fans remember it.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a sad one though, but we'll keep talking about that. But welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen's not here, but welcome to the podcast. And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. I forgot how to do that for a second. Okay, so we're going to speed through this one so we can actually do our live read right after this. But the Battle of Hogwarts has a few really good moments. But what did you just think of the entirety of the battle? What did you think of just like the general feel of what was going on? Do you think that they're going to succeed?
I hope so. I feel
They
like
got
put up
reinforcements.
a good start,
Yeah.
a good fight from the start.
And I feel like being in the castle is always better than, being out. Like they can be on the defensive a little bit, but I can't tell. Like, I don't know. Holes getting blasted in the castle is not a good sign. I feel like we're not in tune with what's going on in the bigger battle because we've just been with the kids. So I don't have a great feel for what else is going on. Like, where are these battle lines drawn? We're just seeing a lot of little moments within the battle.
Yeah.
It's not like we're getting that big picture of like, a bunch of giants lined up here and a bunch of the teachers here and they're fighting over this thing. So I don't even know, but it feels like the evil people have a lot of advantages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like they outnumber.
Are they
and
outnumbered? That's what I was wondering.
It feels like they've been preparing for something like this.
I guess also they don't care. They have no emotions. They're just
Right.
like kill.
And well, that's a huge difference right there. Yeah.
And Hogwarts is doing good. They're like sending the younger students home. But what do you think about the students that are staying back? And again, there's like one factor that is thrown into the mix of this is that Voldemort has the Elder Wand. So do they even stand a chance?
It cannot be defeated. So Voldemort can't be defeated. So it just feels like that as he's walking around in this battle or flying around, he is just going to be getting victory, victory, victory against each of the people he faces, which even without the Elder Wand would be kind of what we assume.
I guess I was hoping that the Hogwarts would protect its own students somehow. Like it was like it's
Did
alive.
they ask for help? They should have, because then it will be given.
They did. They asked Hogwarts for help and all the Pierre Totem Locomotor and all the...
So that does help. I think they need a little more help still.
Yeah, I know. The paintings are trying to help, but they can't really do much. But,
I know.
Or
I
the
feel like
ghosts or the... I don't know.
The
waiting
ghost
for
would
something
affect me
more.
and you, Jen. We'll walk into that, and then all of a sudden we get
Like,
cold, and we're like,
I'm
I'm
too
out of
old
here.
for a
I'm out.
battle."
I'm not doing this. Not fighting today.
True.
But the problem is the Dementors already like the cold, and
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I don't know. It is not looking good for the side of good.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't figure out how it's going to go from here. I was very surprised and disappointed how many people left. Not a single Slytherin stayed.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, oh man, like that kind of seals the deal. Slytherin stink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All this time I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, like it's all right. They're one of the houses. They're, you know, they got a bad batch right now, but you know. And I'm like, no, they just stink. They all stink.
I've been saying that from the beginning.
Yeah.
I know. I've just been holding out hope that in the end there would be like a little bit more like, even. Well, I guess we're seeing a little bit of potential with Malfoy now. I guess. But even after Harry saves his life, then we're
I
like,
know.
can we really trust him? Of
Yeah.
course we can't. But I don't know. With Horace leaving too, I'm like, it just feels weird. But then, all right, that's fine, move on. But then even the other houses, it felt like not many of the others stayed. I'm like, even them? But I guess I get
But
it.
what are they gonna? I feel like
Like,
it's
yeah, like what are you
a-
gonna do?
It's a what's it called? Like a sacrifice. What is it called when you're like going into something knowing most of them are dying?
Yeah. So she's talked about this after the fact. She said the fans really wish that she had kept a few Slytherins, but no Slytherins stayed. She said half of the Ravenclaws stayed. So like all the students 5th year and below got sent home no matter what. She said like half the Ravenclaws stayed, and she said the majority of the Hufflepuff stayed and the majority of the Gryffindor stayed. And they stayed for 2 different reasons, which we'll talk about at a whole different time. But she's mentioned that, so there's probably not a ton of students staying, but there's like a decent amount of Hufflepuffs and Ravenclaws.
Yeah.
So, and they're all kind of fighting this battle for the specific reason that Harry can look after something, which he keeps forgetting to look after.
Which is so silly.
I know.
He keeps losing sight of that.
I know. Which, I mean, it's like easy. It's understandable that he's losing sight of it, but
Yeah.
there's some interesting lines. I'm curious what you think of the Grey Lady and her whole story, because these are some of the lines that we get of hers, where he goes, "Well, help me then." Her composure was slipping. It's not a question of, she stammered, "My mother's diadem." "Your mother's?" She looked angry with herself. "When I lived," she said stiffly, "I was Helena Ravenclaw." "You're her daughter." "But then you must know what happened to it." Later, she says, "He tracked me to the forest where I was hiding. When I refused to return with him, he became violent. The Baron was always a hot-tempered man. Furious at my refusal, jealous of my freedom, he stabbed me." "The Baron? You mean the bloody Baron?" "Yes," said the Grey Lady. And she lifted aside the cloak she wore to reveal a single dark wound in her chest. When he saw what he had done, he was overcome with remorse. He took the weapon that had claimed my life and used it to kill himself. All these centuries later, he wears his chains as an act of penance. As he should, she added bitterly. Then, after that, she goes, "He hid the diadem in the castle. The night he asked Dumbledore to let him teach," said Harry, saying it out loud enabled him to make sense of it all. "He must have hidden the diadem on his way up to, or down from Dumbledore's office. But it was still worth trying to get the job. That might have gotten the chance to nick Gryffindor's sword as well. Thank you, thanks." So, what do you think of her story? And what do you think of the Great Lady?
Sad.
Yeah, I know.
And weird that she has to be in this castle with the Bloody Baron now. Like, it just the...
But they never seem to interact. At least it was never said.
Yeah, not that we've seen.
Because we've
it's
never
true.
seen her before.
It is kind of fun to like put the pieces together. Like, you have heard of the you haven't really heard of the Grey Lady, but you've heard of the Bloody Baron all the time before, and you've never really wondered about a story until like this is put together, and you're like, oh wow, he actually has like a dark, backstory.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if we were to guess on his backstory and his name and all, it's like, doesn't sound the best. But Nearly Headless Nick always feels a little lighter. He's
I know.
He's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's weird. You want some attention, Wes?
I started to.
I think it's interesting that this, like, Harry was able to get her to give some details.
Yeah.
But no other student was able to. So I don't know if she understood the gravity of the situation or if there was something more.
This is another very rare moment that I actually think the movie does slightly better than the books for like how Harry is actually able to obtain the information from her. And the acting that the Grey Lady has. Have you ever seen No Country for Old Men?
No.
She's an actress in that, and she's spectacular in this. She has a very small part in this movie, but she's so good in this role, I think. And yeah, how Harry's able to get the information is actually, I think, done a little bit better. Rather than like, it almost seems like at this point, Joe is like, okay, I have to he has to get the information somehow.
Well,
and
yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
not necessarily rushing, but she's like, okay, I gotta kind of wrap this up.
Yep. Yep.
I think the movie does it really well, to be honest.
Yeah, because it is a very key moment. I mean, it feels like without that, I mean, she could find another way to do it, I guess. But it was important, and maybe the ghost understood the importance, the Grey Lady.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish she was mentioned at some other point in the books, so that it could be like a callback to something.
I think that she was once.
Okay,
I want to say she was mentioned once, or it was like Harry knew her because she was like in a classroom that he was in, but it was like barely mentioned. Yeah,
just like a single time.
Yeah,
and is she just in Ravenclaw Tower, or is it like mostly there? Or each house gets a ghost, right? So she's the house ghost of Ravenclaw.
Yeah. So she's able to roam the castle, but she probably just stays in Ravenclaw Tower a lot. Probably like a lot of the other house ghosts do the same.
Yeah, and so then I guess ghosts maybe can't go into the room of requirement. Because that'd be interesting if she found her diadem, her lost diadem.
It's almost like she doesn't want it, which is another interesting point. Like that point was always when Dumbledore was talking to Harry about the memory for why Voldemort was coming back into the castle. We had a long discussion on what he really wanted to do. And you were like, I think some of your suggestions were like, maybe he wants to get back to the Chamber of Secrets or something like that. But do you understand now what he was actually trying to accomplish? Like when he was applying for his job.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't we mention that though? He was trying to get things.
Yeah.
Like possessions from each house.
Mm-hmm.
For horcruxes. I feel like we did discuss that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know he had one already.
Yeah.
Right. And then it feels
how did
like...
he even get it, though? Like, how did he find it?
Well, he got her to say where it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because he's charming.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
And I think we've
like
kind of wondered
man.
that this whole time, why the kids seem to just ignore ghosts. And even like Moaning Myrtle, who like wants to be their friend, they don't seem to care that much about. Where we're thinking once they go to a Death Day party, we're like talk to these ghosts. And
I know,
they
for
probably
sure.
have all these like awesome stories of like the past and this.
That was the one thing that we did say about that chapter. We're like, go talk to the ghosts. They have such interesting stories.
And so if they had talked a little more, I feel like they would have had more information about the castle, magic history, but like they don't really care about magical history. But we're like, that's awesome.
It would have been fun in the Death Day chapter if you got like a line where the Bloody Baron came in and there was another ghost giving him a dark look in the corner. And you're like, what the heck is going on there? And then all of a sudden that's a callback to this.
That would be awesome.
That would have been fun.
So I think some of that stuff is a little weird. I'm wondering was Voldemort's goal just to apply for the job and not even to get it? Because he already got what he wanted?
Yeah.
Or did he have plans to put this diadem somewhere else?
No, I think he had plans to put the diadem in the room of requirement. I think that was his ultimate plan. I think he actually did genuinely want the job too. There's a little bit of debate about this. But
oh, okay. But that would have maybe just been not a bonus. He really wanted the job. He really wanted to hide the diadem, but he could have done more if he had the job.
Because he is all about magical education.
Yeah, which is
he
so
just wants
weird.
to do it his way. He waits till the end of the school year every single time to attack. But after they're done with their finals, he's like, all right, now I can go.
It's time.
But I think he
Yikes.
actually genuinely wanted the job. That's why he cursed it when he didn't get it. So, and maybe he really just wanted the job again for what it says here, so he can look for the sword or look for the Gryffindor object. Maybe he really just wanted to be in the castle for that reason. But I think he kind of wanted it.
Does Dumbledore did he blame himself for creating Voldemort?
I think a little bit, because doesn't he say that to Harry?
Yeah.
At some point, he kind of says, like, I wondered if I should have just never gotten him from the orphanage.
Yeah, because I wonder what would have...
Yeah, like what would have happened if he didn't. And maybe that's a big question in general. Same thing with Harry. If he never got a letter to Hogwarts, would he know that he was magical at some point? Would he come to terms with it after he appears on rooftops or talks to snakes a few times? Then it was like, something's weird with me. And maybe he would never mention it, but just would go about a normal life and like kind of slowly. Or maybe he would develop his own kind of wagadoo thing and wandless and whatever. But I don't know. Or... Well, it's hard to say. And Dumbledore, what he thinks about Voldemort, what would have happened? Would he have become a serial killer of Muggles?
Maybe he wouldn't have the power because he wouldn't know how to use it.
Yeah, but maybe that could be even more dangerous. I don't know. Or the same thing like we are kind of saying with Ariana. If you don't use your magic, like, does it fade or turn in on itself or whatever? Could some of that have happened with Voldemort after a certain amount of time? Like if you don't use it and then you're of age, it fades away or whatever. We just don't know. So it is strange. I'm also confused why Dumbledore couldn't reverse the curse on the dark arts, defense against the dark arts professor. It almost feels like they didn't know it was there, but after a certain number of years, they should have picked up on it. It's like, oh, wow, we lose a professor every single year. It's more than just chance at a certain point.
How do you uncurse something? That's an interesting question.
And I mean, I know Voldemort's really good, so his curse must have been pretty intense. But can't you undo a curse? And what is the curse on? Just the idea of the teacher? Or is it on the room? Is it something in that room, in that space, in the castle? So yeah, I'm just left with some questions. But for even if Dumbledore could or couldn't do it, there might have been consequences, but he said, we'll just keep going with this, it's fine. But then he even puts people that he likes, like Lupin, in that position. So putting someone you like in the position of potentially, like, of under a curse, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's been intense. Would you have kept a few Slytherins captive? Because Aberforth comes in and he's like, how did you keep some of them, captive?
That's smart.
Probably.
I think you guys mentioned that in the chat. You're like, yeah, he's got a good point there.
I just feel like letting them
their
just
parents
go.
are Death Eaters, though.
Like, where are they going to go? And how do you know they're going to go? And then we saw right here with, Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle. They didn't go. So now you got all these Slytherins just wandering around the castle. They're behind enemy lines. And they're free to do what they want. That seems like a mistake. Now, if you can banish them somehow, like you
Into
can
a
send them
room?
away, and then
No, you send them to a room and someone watches
well, yeah,
them.
you could lock them in a
Yeah.
room too. But I'm just saying, even if you weren't going to keep them captive, if you could shove them in the flu network and let them get whisked
Yeah,
away
seriously,
somewhere, maybe. But it felt weird to just. It seemed like they were just wandering out of their own volition, and that felt strange. And I hope that doesn't come back to bite us again.
I know. They definitely. Yeah, there was even the point where if they did use a flu network to get them out, I was happy when Neville's grandma came through and she's like, "Oh, I sealed it." Even though I'm like, "Oh, they have no more reinforcements," and then you're like, "Okay, they can't get attacked from behind." It's great. And that's also a really cute moment. I
It
love
was
that.
so funny.
I know.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines in this whole chapter where
She's
she
like
goes,
so proud.
I was the last to come through, said Mrs. Longbottom. I sealed it. I think it unwise to leave it open now. Now Aberforth has left his pub. Have you seen my grandson? He's fighting, said Harry. Naturally, said the old lady proudly. Excuse me. I must go and assist him. With surprising speed, she trotted off
I
for
know
the stone steps.
I love that.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of bad because it's
Yeah.
like she kept. Didn't she like make him feel bad for like
Yeah.
not being strong or like sticking up for himself and
Yeah.
Yeah.
taking like his parents' way, like the genes, I guess. Like he was the
I know,
opposite of
I
the
know.
parents.
Yep.
Well, I feel like that stuff is weird. Like every human needs to go through hard times in order to be tough and whatever, and that's like fine. But I think Gran just took it too far.
Yeah.
And he was too young. So it's funny to see that Harry's approach was the gentle approach, the encouraging approach, and that seems to be what Neville actually needed. But maybe some of Gran's technique did work a little bit too. So I don't know, but I'm glad she's come around.
Yeah. That's I think you kind of said it well. I it must have been hard for her because like Frank and Alice, her kids, or like she's Longbottom, so Frank's her son, I'm guessing, and then Alice, her daughter-in-law. That's got to be hard to see them go through that. And then I'm sure when Neville's coming, he's this shy kid, and like she has to take care of him. It's probably got to be tough for her, but at the same point, she's got to be loving and like accept him for who he is. But there is a part to it where I love this too. Like it's simultaneously like she's not a great guardian, but at the same point, I'm like, it is so cute that she's so proud of Neville now. For Neville growing up to be just like his parents, I like to get choked up at this line every single time I read it. It's like, Neville, you guys finally understand why I like Neville. He's like this kid that has such a good arc. He goes from being shy and nervous to being such a good, courageous person.
Yeah, seriously, huge growth.
Yeah,
like the most that we see, I think.
Yeah, honestly,
which is so great.
Yeah.
And then even Gran coming around.
I know. And this is like a chapter you get a lot of arcs of the characters too, like Crabbe and Goyle. Like Crabbe being able to like do this stuff with the fiend fire, and like he's truly turned out like dark and nasty when he was just quiet before. Even the way he's talking to Malfoy, he's like your family's done. He's like, we're the ones that are in charge now. We don't have to listen to you. Like, wait, dang, Crabbe like getting to this point is pretty intense.
And that's like a classic evil thing of like betraying his friend that he was supporting this whole time, and it was just of a desire for power because the Malfoys had power then. Yep. And then all of a sudden, when something changes, there's no loyalty. So yeah, it kind of stinks. It's like, again, why you always say, why would anyone want to be evil or like aligned to these people? So
but it is like they're all just jockeying for power. So even though Voldemort is the one with the ultimate power, it's like they all just want a piece of that power. Even though
you're right.
It's weird. They almost know they're not going to get it, but they're still so deluded that they think they're going to get some of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is the ongoing question that this podcast is, why do people follow him? There's not a great answer for that one.
Yeah.
He never rewards anything, though.
I know.
That's what's so bad.
He tortures them if they do anything wrong. It's like you're on eggshells around this guy.
I thought it was weird that Harry was giving his conclusions of everything out loud to the Grey Lady, but didn't wait long enough for her to confirm anything. Yeah. He was just like, I think it was this, and it was this, and it was this, and then he's gone. I was like, oh, I really hope he's right, because it all happened so fast. I'm like, just wait for like something. But I feel like she didn't even nod her head or anything. I was hoping she would confirm it, and I was worried it would lead to something bad, but then, all right, it all worked out. So.
Well, kind of. I mean, they were being watched.
That is Harry too. He is like reckless when he has his mindset on something. He's convinced that he has that. This plays, I think it's a good contrast in this chapter between that moment where you're like, Harry, just wait and confirm these things because he's rash and he just does something, to the other good moment in this chapter where he literally saves Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle's life, or tries to save Crabbe's life. Because he's like rash. He's like, we have to do this. And you love him for that. And you love him for the other reason too. But it's like, this is who Harry truly is. He has a saving people complex. And he really, when he's convinced about something, he goes for it.
Yep. And even later, like the next page, Hagrid comes in, which is of course great. And he's like, "Where are we going?" And Harry says, "I don't know exactly." And he making another random turn. Yeah. So it just Harry feels like he's just running around the castle. Yeah. But Ron and Hermione must be around here somewhere. And again, it's like I just wrote following instincts because that's what. Wait, who said that? Lupin said to him, I think. So his instincts are good, and I'm like, well, take the map out, but he doesn't. But it was again just trusting his instincts, and it tends to work out pretty well for him.
Yeah, Harry's character is pretty remarkable for this.
Sir Cadogan, or running alongside
Yeah.
him. I thought that was so great.
Yeah.
That
Again,
was
not
this-
much he
that
can
was-
do.
that
When Harry was
soldier.
running in a hallway, yeah, he's the knight that
Yeah, that's
he
it.
was.
Yeah. When the fat lady got torn by Sirius Black, he was a replacement for her.
Yeah, and so he's come up a
Okay.
couple times randomly.
Yeah.
But there's not much they can do except communicate. They can
Yeah.
spread word. So the paintings should be running around. They're over here.
Yeah,
This is
best
what's going on
communication
here.
system in the
Like,
school right there.
Yeah, and I feel like that should happen.
Spying on them.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not much they can do. But that's moral support. So
It's good encouragement. Yeah, there's not a ton left to talk about in this chapter. I want to know what you think about is the Horcrux actually destroyed? And if it's destroyed, is Nagini the last one? They just have to destroy Nagini and they're it?
Let me look at my list.
Yes, I think so. I think it's destroyed because it made that sound, and then it was a cursed fire, and
Yeah.
Hermione was like, "Oh yeah, it's like cursed magic or evil magic," so that would make sense that it's destroyed. And Nagini is the last one because they did everything else. Wait, the goblet though, was that destroyed? Oh yeah, Hermione did it
Yep.
Yeah.
with the basilisk venom, which I called.
Yeah.
nailed
Props
it.
I
to
know.
me. Nah,
The next, I'm going to say this too, just to help you guys. The next two chapters, in the smattering of your guys' predictions, you guys
Something
have
might have-
nailed a few things that we will get to
Ooh,
in the
nice.
next two chapters.
McGonagall really is Harry's grandma.
Some of you guys, I'm not going to say who, but one of you is really right in one chapter, and one of you is really right in the next chapter.
Ooh, nice.
So-
All right, good.
what the?
I'm so curious what it is. Okay. Yeah, I have Nagini as being the last one,
Okay.
but I'm still thinking there could be more to this. Only because we keep saying that Voldemort is the last one. And we've speculated what if Harry is like an accidental one. And I thought that made sense for a little bit. And now I'm like leaning away from that because it feels like silly. Like that would only happen if he knew and he brought another object that could have been a Horcrux. But then it didn't happen unless Wormtail picked it up. I don't know. So then I thought, but what if he actually did make a seventh one? And we just never heard about it. I guess what I'm trying to say is
Okay, so-
he doesn't have a Gryffindor object.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that he kind of needs one. And so I'm like,
What would his Gryffindor object be?
It
Like-
was probably gonna be Harry. Like,
it was going
That's
to
his
be
well, I
Gryffindor
meant like
object?
his whole family were Gryffindors,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it would be interesting if he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill Harry," and then create a
Okay, now
Horcrux
that's
a
interesting.
Gryffindor.
It's
like-
a little gross, but what if he was going to use Harry's skull
Ew.
as the Horcrux?
What about his binky?
Did Harry have a blankie at that point? Maybe. He had a blankie, a really special
Oh my
blankie.
gosh.
Whoa, he does have a special blankie. But
So maybe that.
only because there needs to be a Gryffindor object. So it makes me think that Voldemort was planning on doing that, and it could still be the Sword of Gryffindor. Or it could be something else that is like a curveball. Whether it's... the invisibility cloak doesn't make sense because Harry would have been like... We just saw like evil coming out of the Horcruxes. And so whatever it is, even the Sword of Gryffindor doesn't seem to make sense. But what else could it be? So anyways, I'm like... I'm curious and skeptical, and it would not surprise me if Voldemort did not think, I'm number 7, I want 7. 7's the round number that I'm looking for. I want 7 objects, which would be each of the 4 houses plus the journal and Nagini and the locket of House Gaunt.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm just curious, and that's what I'm kind of waiting for.
But they still, regardless, they still have to destroy Nagini, which I don't know how they're going to get to.
And they're nervous about this fire stuff, so that's why it's weird too. Where I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he comes with Voldemort, so it won't be that hard for Harry.
Yeah.
They come together.
Yeah, but if this fire is so crazy and deadly and like weird, can you just do it on a whole army, or is that just you don't want to let it out?
There's actually debate some people say the room requirement is so strong it heals itself, but I would say it's maybe a more, I don't know, majority opinion, but that the room of requirement is actually destroyed after this, and that they cannot use it from this point on, which is kind of sad.
Like, yeah, wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah.
Like, it is just a room of fire, lava, whatever. Like, you can't open it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Like,
especially if it was magical charms that allowed it to open, and this fire destroys magic stuff, mostly, except for a few objects on the floor. So then whatever charms allowed it to exist to begin with might have been destroyed. So yeah, it could be destroyed, disappeared, whatever. It could be gone. But they have some basilisk fangs, and they can get stabbing.
Just start stabbing randomly.
Yeah, like, let's just
shooting them out. You get like a cannon in like the astronomy tower. You're pumping them at
Yep.
Nagini.
All right, let me just scan through. Oh, Ron mimicking Parcel Tongue.
I know. It's
That
great,
was big.
right?
That was a pro move right there. I'm proud of him.
That was a great move.
Set them free. Dobby and the House Elves. We haven't seen them come out yet, and I don't know what's going on. They could have all left already, but do something to make sure that they can either help or leave.
It's lovely.
Give them all, pass out some clothing. You know. I hope they're already free, but anyways.
Yeah, even the next chapter is called The Elder Wand, and the artwork in that is very ominous. So, what are your predictions for what's going to happen in the next chapter?
We're going to learn about it. All our theories are going to be answered, I hope.
Don't kill him. Mouthful yelled at crab. All right, sorry. Yeah, what do you think?
That's what I think.
No, you gotta have more than that.
Oh, there were so many theories. I don't remember.
Is this going to be like, Danny's going to this in Lord of the Rings when, they're fighting at the beginning of the movie where it's like, oh, victory was near at hand, but the power of the ring will not be undone. And like Sauron comes out and just destroys half the army. Is it going to be like that where like everyone else is doing Voldemort's work now, and then all of a sudden Voldemort comes out with the Elder Wand and it doesn't look pretty?
Great comparison.
Yep, maybe. But then a part of me thinks that Harry is the better wizard, and doesn't it want to be with the better wizard? So would it work? Like, I just picture it being like a magnet. Like Voldemort goes to use it against him, and then it like turns on him and goes to Harry.
Well, that's actually a really interesting idea. Like it chooses the more powerful wizard, but it chooses more powerful wizard based on if they've disarmed the person or won them, beat them in combat, which Harry hasn't done.
Always uses Expelliarmus.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's like his. Yeah.
Has he beaten Voldemort? But see,
yes,
that was
but
before
not
he had
since he had the Elder Wand.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So that kind of trumps it.
I don't know. I just feel like Harry is different. So like, he's got all these like ancient magic protections. So.
Yeah, all the
and he has the cloak. So I'm like, I think the cloak can protect him from the Elder Wand. Because it seems as though it's part of that Deathly Hallows thing. And can they use those things against each other? Because we've never seen that in the stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Can they use? Yeah. Harry just needs to run around with the invisibility cloak, and he's going to be safe from the Elder Wand. Everyone else is going to get destroyed. But Harry.
Too bad he can't make the invisibility cloak huge. Like, isn't there a thing to blow it up? Like, make it bigger?
Yeah. Cover the whole castle.
Cover the whole, room.
It does seem resistant to certain kinds of magic. Like, they remember they say Accio cloak, and it doesn't come. So I'm sure it'd be resistant to that. Why not try it, though?
Yeah.
Let's just hide the castle real quick. Everyone under the invisibility cloak. We'll, sneak around.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen Voldemort in action yet.
Or maybe Dumbledore come back to life.
Yeah, could there be anything that, like, because that's what we keep saying too. What has Dumbledore done to prepare the castle, Harry, the teachers, other students?
Maybe
Hogwarts will help you if you ask. Like, oh yeah, what's the close? Like, all of these things that that's a good point. That is something we can sink our teeth into. Dumbledore sets something up, and when it closes, the snitch opens and something is revealed, and so.
Maybe the wand's in there. Maybe the real wand's in the snitch.
It's like a magic trick. He pulls it out.
The Elder One, the real Elder One.
Yeah, but the only way a fake Elder Wand could be out there is if Ollivander was doing it, and Ollivander left me a little bit like.
We also couldn't
like
keep
80%.
track of who actually had the Elder One. It's still part of me, Grindelwald thing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have theorized about that before of who is the actual owner of the Elder Wand. You said Grindelwald, I think. I forgot who else you said.
The Switzerland town.
The Switzerland town. Yep. I think it's weird because in my mind, no matter who owns it, it's owned by the person who is holding it. Because in a weird way, like no matter what, if you're holding it, you won it. You got it. You defeated or whatever somebody to get it. But taking it off Dumbledore's body feels weird. So that would be the only part where it's confusing.
So is it even something like the ring? I mean, we keep going back to Lord of the Rings analogies, where it talks about how it abandoned Gollum to his death because it's like seeking the next person that it can go to, almost, or it's like seeking its one true master.
Right.
Which to Jen's theory, it could be Harry. Harry could be the one true master of the Elder Wand. But in another sense, it is Voldemort taking it from a dead body. Does that make him the actual master of it? I mean, there's something about even the series about like the idea of death, and maybe it's such a desecration that the Elder Wand chooses him because it is like a victory over him. But I don't know.
What if it just works against him? Like he messed up something.
Yeah. I don't know who it could.
Or it's not real and he thinks he has the power. So then if you are prideful that you think you're going to win, you're not as like strong or aware of things. You know, like you're not on like the defense. You're like, I'm just going to beat you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is...
if it's not real.
That is his biggest issue is pride.
Fall.
Even like him thinking the room of requirement was only like something that he found out. It's just ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
Ron,
you're right.
Ron, after he makes out with Hermione, is like, oh, this is ridiculous that he thought he was the only one that had access to it. So like he's not even thinking straight because he's so in love with Hermione.
Yeah.
And then even Ron knows that it's ridiculous that he thought he was the
Yeah.
only one with access to the room of requirement, which is
that
just
so
ludicrous.
Prideful. And it is funny that maybe the room of requirement went unused for a long time, and there might have been things like that, and like maybe whole batches of students never opened it, and then it became normal for anyone in Dumbledore's army. So they're like, "Oh, come on, this is obvious. We go here all the time." So it's possible it was more unique in Voldemort's day, but it is still so prideful, and we love that because it's blinding him. And I'm just thinking of the order of who had the wand. Dumbledore must have been the rightful holder of it, but I'm just curious how the wand's loyalty would go from there, and if it would go to Snape or to Malfoy. Malfoy disarmed him. Snape killed him. So both of those are like potentially could be rightful owners of the wand.
So you think Snape gets it and then turns on Voldemort?
But would Snape even know that he's the rightful owner? Or is he even the rightful owner?
I thought that was his plan this whole time.
And then the other thing is, Harry,
Take over
Malfoy,
power.
and Boyle now have like a life debt to Harry, right? And we don't know if life debt is really like a magic thing, or if it's
Dumbledore
a
said
Muggle magic. Yeah, he did. But then when we saw the only time we've seen it, Wormtail. But with Wormtail, all it did is make him hesitate for a split second, and then his own arm turned against him because Voldemort gave it to him. So is the life debt a real thing that requires like resolution, or is it just like an idea of like there's a certain guilt when someone saved your life?
No one knows about the ancient magic, so...
Yeah, it is. It's ancient magic. So is that enough? Like, if Malfoy is the rightful owner, does he have to now, like... Or by saving Malfoy's life, does Harry become the owner?
We'll figure out. We're into the next chapter.
Yeah.
We're going to do a live read, but
Maybe
real
McGonagall
quick.
gets it.
Yeah, real quick. Tell me who your favorite character is, who wins the hot tamale in this chapter, and what is your favorite moment? I feel like it's been a while since we listened to this chapter, but
I mean, learning more about the diadem and who killed the Bloody Baron and all that stuff, that was
good moment.
yeah, a not so good moment, but I liked learning more.
Yeah, I loved that moment. I also loved Fred joking with Percy at the end.
I know,
That was
yeah.
like when
too.
Percy comes back, you're like, ugh, but it's so great that they're joking, and Fred's last
Yep.
thing is having fun with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, at least before he died.
I know.
I
Rest
feel
in
like
peace,
my favorite moment was probably right after the Room of Requirement with the fire and all that, and Harry had saved people. So seeing Harry kind of in his sweet spot of like action, saving people, making moves. But I don't know, Ron and Hermione running off and thinking of the basilisk fangs, all that stuff I think was great too. So it's hard to choose. But
That was in
destroying the
this
Horcrux
chapter?
and the fire and leaving, and yeah, I think that was all this chapter.
It was a,
Well,
it
we
was a big
hear
chapter,
about
yeah.
it in this chapter.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, but I'm trying to think of who gets the house cup. It's tough.
I want to just give it to Fred.
Fred.
I know,
Fred
I know.
for fighting till the death. I think Fred deserves it
Yeah.
for me.
That's fair.
And there are a lot of people doing great things.
Yeah, I know. This is a great. Yeah. You can just give it to everyone fighting for Hogwarts right now.
Yeah, because I think Fred paid the ultimate price. So yeah, we can definitely give it to Fred. I'm
Yeah.
happy with that.
I'm giving a hot tamale to Neville
Oh, yeah,
because he's the best.
His grandma.
Yeah, Neville's
Yeah.
grandma.
Ron and Hermione making out. That's hot tamale.
Yeah,
stuff,
that
too.
is hot tamale
I'm trying to
energy right
think
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't get hotter than that.
I know. Well, we are going to listen. So if you're listening to this podcast late, just go check out our YouTube channel because we are doing a live read of the next two chapters, which are two great chapters. Everyone who's a Harry Potter fanatic knows the next two chapters are fantastic. So thanks for joining us on this journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Take a breather, and we will do it in like a minute or so.
Nice. Quick breather.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I'm going to end the stream and start the next one. So join us there. We're doing 2 chapters, yes. All because Ryan wanted to.
Nice, Ryan.
No, not just because Ryan. All right, guys. Join us on the next stream. I'm going to end this one, start the next one. So I'll see you guys over there.